We are about to strip the fairings. A couple of mistakes I made. I didn't think to look underneath there to see if there was anything actually holding these two sides together. There is some rusty old bolts, there's some shiny new bolts, there's some plastic ones, there's a bolt holding one side of the frame in when there's actually a proper stainless steel one on the other side. It's all trial and error, guys, and that's why we're making this video. All this black soundproofing in here wasn't here. All you got was what you saw on the original unboxing, that little bit of silver sound deadening, which is piss thin and useless. We've still got to put the screen on. I haven't test fitted the tank cover. I'm about to put the rear seat cowl on. There is a kind of complaints department type thing. Apparently I've sent them some pictures. They're going to do something, but they told me not to kind of hold my breath. So far, so good-ish. The rear seat cowl looks great. The tank looks great. The nose cone looks great. I'm quite impressed. Hopefully, by the time you come back in a few seconds' time, this will all be buttoned up and we can really talk about this bike. What is up, YouTubers and lovers of budget cars and bikes? Welcome to what I believe is the fourth in the series for the CBR 1100 Super Blackbird. As you can see, we are about to strip the fairings and put the new fairings on. Hopefully you've seen the other three videos in the series. They should all be in the catalogue by now, I would think, on the channel. So go back and have a look at those. There's when the bike arrived, there was some kind of thoughts on that. Then there was an update on that, and then there was the unboxing of this fairing kit, which we're going to try and fit today. And then there's this one, and then finally there'll be actually 5 in the series by the looks of things, more than I expected, but it is what it is, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If nobody enjoys it, then I just won't do another one like this, but I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's been very interesting for me personally, of course, because it's my bike and my fairing and my money. Anyway, we are on that day. I've decided to do it today because it's not too sunny, and nobody wants to be out here sweating their proverbials off when they're trying to do this. And I'm going to do it in the back garden because I've left myself just enough room, as you can see, each side now, to kind of get in here and try and take all this apart. The back seat cowl fairing there, that'll be easy enough to take off, so I'm not worried about that. But it is a bit daunting, I have to admit. It's a little bit daunting. I've never done anything like this before. I don't know how this comes off. I don't know how the new one's going to fit. So we're just going to get on with it. All right, it's going to be on a time-lapse on a tripod. I'll put some funky music in the background, but I may kind of cut into the time-lapse a little bit because obviously as we go through this, there's going to be things I want to point out to you if you've decided to remove your fairing, which might be useful to you. So don't kind of just skip through. There might be something in there that you find useful. So as I said, we're going to time-lapse it, but I will probably stop a couple of times through that time-lapse just to give you an update of where we are and what we're up to. All right, enjoy. Getting there. We're absolutely getting there. A couple of mistakes I made. I didn't think to look underneath there to see if there was anything actually holding these two sides together. It's just literally a couple of bolts. It didn't do any damage by the looks of things. I'm not sure if you... Yeah, just down there you can see there's two little bolts. They actually look like someone's put in a couple of number plate retaining bolts, those plastic yellow things, which is a bit odd. But to be quite honest, this whole bike is held together a little bit oddly. As you can see from this little pot here of all the bolts, there is some rusty old bolts, there's some shiny new bolts, there's some plastic ones, there's a bolt holding one side of the frame in when there's actually a proper stainless steel one on the other side. This, where is it? I think this was holding something in. Well, that doesn't quite look OEM, does it? Anyway, they're all off there, and that's one thing I've got to get as well, because I didn't get it from the fairing company. I asked them about a fixing kit, as in all the bolts you need to put the new one on. And they said, yeah, they can supply it, but it's $70. And I thought, hold on, $70 for a bunch of screws. I just kind of figured I'd go with the ones I've got on here, see which ones I can reuse, and then I can just go down to a local hardware shop and buy a bolt or two, can't I? You know, there's no massive rush for this. It's got an MOT until February, so there's no great, huge rush for it. Anyway, as I said, we're getting there. We've got the rear cowl off. We've got the front nose cone. It looks like, as I thought, you have to take the headlight out with that, so I'll have to put that back in the new one. As you can see, there's only 4 bolts by the looks of things, and then you've got these little scoops here which fit in underneath here, but I'm not quite sure if it's exactly the same on the other one. I guess we'll find out. That's for the air filter, obviously, the induction part of it. I've still got to get these off, I believe. Not quite sure how that happens, but we will do it. I'm imagining that's a tank up job, and I've got to try and get to that tank cover on, but I'm going to do that last, because I think that's probably one of the easier parts of this little build, to be quite fair. But now I can actually see these hangers here, and I can give them a bit of a spruce up while the fairing's off. I think that's a way to go forward. And you can see that the exhaust actually looks really good. There doesn't seem to be anything really amiss down here. The oil filter looks quite good. There's a little bit of rust. I mean, it's 21 years old. I could touch that up, but you won't see it. It's behind the fairing, so you can never see it, so there's no point. Apart from that, we are good to go. I'm going to start and see what else I can take off, what needs to be taken off, because as I said, I think you've got to take off these plastic parts to get the tank cover up and over these little bits here. I'm not sure. It's all trial and error, guys, and that's why we're making this video. All right, I'm going to put you back on time lapse, and we're going to start putting the new fairing on. All right, here we go.
Samurai sword on my back. You don't know how to act. Maybe you should relax. Maybe you should relapse. Just kidding. Stop. Woo. Woo. Stop. Stop, 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 stop. Stop, 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 stop. Stop, 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 stop. Stop, 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 stop.
And we have now got the nose cone and the first side fairing on. As you could see from that bit of time lapse, I actually did the nose cone first because it was a little bit complex, because you've got to get this light in to the framework here obviously, and then you've got to run all the wires and make sure everything works. And I wanted to do it first because I didn't want too much of a time lapse, thinking that would be the hardest bit. And then it came to these lower panels, and by God, you would have seen from that time lapse there the struggle I was getting to get this in. It's just not easy at all. There's a bit of a moody gap there, which I'm not overly impressed with, I have to say. But it's on. I don't know how well it's on. I mean, it's solid. It's not going anywhere. And it looks pretty shit hot, I have to say. I love that, the new stickers as well, the new decals, that really does set it off. But the one thing I've noticed, obviously, as I've been taking all this kind of stuff apart, is you need to keep all your original retaining clips and bolts and washers and nuts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'll show you, if we pop inside the house for a second, I'll show you what I mean. There's the other fairing for the left-hand side, as it were. Now, all this black soundproofing in here wasn't here. All you got was what you saw on the original unboxing, that little bit of silver sound deadening, which is piss thin and useless. So I basically had to tear it all off. I'll show you the other fairings. Oh, bloody hell, I am absolutely knackered. I had to tear it all out of these old fairings here, as you can see, so they actually don't have any sound deadening in anymore. I mean, I didn't have to. It probably would have been fine, I guess, but I wanted to, because obviously it just makes everything neater and nicer inside, more original, more stock. But what a pig of a job, you had to take that off. Luckily, I had some contact adhesive from when I did the Vivaro camper van conversion, so I just used that and I stuck it on. I mean, I doubt if you can actually see, well, you can probably just about see where I've stuck it in there, but it's in there. I'd like to get this gap a little bit better, but I don't think there's much I can do about that. These are generic parts after all. The cockpit fitted pretty well, as you can see. It's only held in by its own kind of sprung weight at the moment, but it does give you a chance to, and I would suggest you clean all of the tops of these, underneath here a little bit, get into all these clock areas here, give them a really good wipe out, because it's not the kind of thing you're often able to do. So while you've got all this off, give that a clean as well. I did the yoke, I did the ignition barrel, I did the key, I did everything around here. I cleaned it all out with some degreaser and stuff like that, just because it's all off and I can do that. Now, as you can see, it's getting there. We've still got to put the screen on. I haven't test fitted the tank cover. I'm about to put the rear seat cowl on, and then hopefully I might have to move the bike around a little bit, because as you could see from that bit of time lapse, this isn't an easy job. You know, it's not something you can do in half an hour. You never know though. The other one might fit beautifully, which would be ideal for me. But we are going to continue. We're going to go back to time lapse, and I am hopefully going to just slip that rear seat cowl on, and maybe even the screen. But as I said, they don't give you any bolts for the screen. You've got to reuse all your own bolts, and the bolts that came off the old screen are crap. They're just old bits of rubbish, so I've got to get some of those, but I might test fit it anyway. So let's get back to the fitting of this fairing, which is there's that bloody horrible mark there as well. It's such a shame that that's happened. I did get hold of him, and I sent them some pictures. There is a kind of complaints department type thing. Apparently I've sent them some pictures. They're going to do something, but they told me not to kind of hold my breath for at least 2 to 3 weeks while they're working out. But excuse me, I just had a can of Coke. There's that one. There's a couple of other little tiny indiscretions which I spoke to you about before. I think there's one up here as well, just a little one. The screen seems to fit okay. Obviously I don't know where the bolts are that go on the underside here, so I've just literally stuck in a couple of number plate bolts for now. I don't actually have a problem with number plate bolts to hold a screen in if they're black, like this will be, because they're easy to fit in, you can cut them down, all that kind of nonsense. The wing mirrors will actually hold the rest of this all in here anyway, so I've got to find another 4 bolts, maybe 5 bolts to get that done. The tank was a surprise. You saw how easy that was to fit. It literally just slips straight over the original tank, and it seems to line up pretty spot on as well. I guess you push that down a little bit there. There is a gap, of course there's a gap just around here. Not sure what to do about that. Now, I did speak to a guy on the forum or the Facebook page, I can't remember which one it was now. He's done this, and what he did was put a jivvy tank bag connector thing here, and what that did effectively was, as he tied it down here, it pushed this down onto the original tank, and he said that made it fit much better. So I'm hoping all this crap that's on here will just polish out, because it's just been sat around doing not a much. Anyway, I'm absolutely knackered, so I'm not going to do any more today. Obviously for you, you'll just carry on regardless, but for me, I'm going to go and sit down, have a cup of coffee, and I may even have a bath because of my poor aching old bloody bones. So far, so good-ish. I mean, as more as you can put this on, you can start to see a couple of more little scuffs. The only bit that I don't really like at the moment is that gap right there. That's annoying me slightly, and I've still got to put in all the plastic surrounds all through here as well, finish this off, and then plonk the seat on. I mean, I could put the seat on now. Bear with me a second, because you might actually get a better idea of how this all looks if I just pop the seat on for a second. It's sitting in the kitchen doing not much anyway, so let's whip him on for a second. I won't bolt it. Oh, well, there you are, it's on now. Oh. And you start to see it take shape. That's not bad for a day's work, I'd say, because I'm not sure what the time is now. I'm assuming it's about 4 o'clock. I started this about midday, so it's taken me about 4 hours to do this, but that does include having to take off all the old soundproofing from the old fairings, just basically muddle my way through it. I think once you've done this once, you could probably do it in a couple of hours, no problem at all, depending on how the bolts are and all that kind of nonsense. As you can see, I've still got a lot of bolts to put in down here. I've got to put the other side, which is just sitting over there, I've got to put that on the other side. And once I've got the other side on, it's pretty much buttoned up. It's just little bits of snagging, as I said, for that screen, and maybe a givey rack. But as you can see, what a beautiful colour. I mean, it's just stunning, isn't it? Just needs some tidying up. I mean, obviously you won't see any of this because we've got plastic bits like these here that go in there and fill all that out. But the rear seat cowl looks great, the tank looks great, the nose cone looks great. I'm quite impressed, I have to say. You know, whenever you buy anything from China, it's not going to bulk straight on and look like it would if you bought it from Honda. You know, you haven't paid £2 for a fairing though, have you? So in that respect, you get what you pay for, you know, and I'm so far not massively disappointed. I'm disappointed with that mark on the back rear seat cowl, and I'm disappointed with that gap there where the nose cone meets the lower right hand fairing, but apart from that, it's all good. I'm hoping to get some kind of discount on another order or a refund, or they may even send out a new part for that rear seat cowl, which is fine, somebody else can have this one. But there's all the old parts. I've still got to fit the mudguard as well, I keep forgetting about that, that's sitting down there, but I don't have any bolts for that because I had to break it off, if you remember. Anyway, that's me done for today, really. I mean, this is going to be quite a long video, I'm assuming, but you know, it's quite a long job, so in that respect, what do you expect? Anyway, for you it'll be a couple of seconds. For me, I'm going to go inside, have a cup of coffee and a rest my weary old bones, and I'll get back to this in the morning. Hopefully by the time you come back in a few seconds time, this will all be buttoned up and we can really talk about this bike. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a couple of seconds.